400 career touchdowns. Favre said, quote, aside from the Super Bowls, he may be the greatest player ever. Shannon, does he have a point?
Skip, you know, I try to keep the quarterbacks out of the players because they're the least athletic of the position. And I look at quarterbacks really with the exception of maybe a handful, the only position they could have ever played. I can't see Tom Brady play any other position than quarterback. Peyton Manning ain't played any other position but quarterback. Now maybe some could have played maybe a wide receiver or something else. But I do agree with Brett. And he says, if you just look at titles, if you say titles is the end-all, be-all, well, it's slam dunk. It's Brady, and then there's no one else in the conversation. But if you look at totality, if you look at other things, and it's funny, it all depends on who's making the argument and who are you making the argument for. Because if you say Brady, it's all about titles, and that's it. Nothing else matters, titles. When you make it about Jordan, where you say, well, Bill Russell has more, Kareem has just as many, it's other things. So let's just stay with this. I look at Rodgers and Skip, for me, it's an eye test. And I think Tom Brady is unbelievable. I'm not going to deny that and say, well, he's not great, he's not transcendent, because he is. But to my eyes, Aaron Rodgers is a better quarterback. And I believe if I could have put Aaron Rodgers in that situation that Tom Brady had for 20 years in New England, Aaron Rodgers would have just as many, if not more, Super Bowls than Tom Brady. Now, we'll never know. And I don't know if we'll ever see this situation again. I don't think Andy is going to stick around in Kansas City another 16 years to be with my homeboy for 20 seasons like that. Skip, but when you look at Rodgers and his numbers, Rodgers has 400 touchdowns and 88 interceptions. At the time that Tom Brady hit 400 touchdowns, Rodgers has 55 fewer interceptions. He had 108. You know, we know Breeze don't turn the ball over. No. He has 108 fewer interceptions than Drew, 110 fewer than Manning, and 170 fewer than Favre. If you look at what he can do with the football, his ability to throw, to change arm angles, slots, the ability to throw the ball, rolling left, rolling right, wrong foot, the flick of the wrist. From my eyes, Skip, I believe that Aaron Rodgers is a better quarterback. But if you're just looking at titles, if that's the only barometer that you're going to use to say who's the better of the two, well, it's Tom Brady. But my eyes tell me that Aaron Rodgers is the better of the two.
Okay, every time I hear this idea pushed by somebody, I don't know whether to laugh or scream, because obviously I'm a Brady fan, but I don't know why everybody isn't a fan of a guy who won 6 rings with 6 game-winning drives in the fourth quarter or overtime of Super Bowls. That's impossibly great. Brady doesn't get nearly enough credit for that.
Yeah, he does.
I don't think he does. No, I think they're mostly naysayers and haters when it comes to Tom Brady, because they just don't like how he carries himself, how he acts. He doesn't fit the part.
Well, I guess
Rodgers is way cooler than Tom Brady.
I guess Brett can't be jealous because Brett played 20 seasons, right?
Okay, so this is what Brett Favre said of Aaron Rodgers. I think he, aside from the number of Super Bowls, he may be the greatest player ever. And when I read that, I thought of the old cliche about, other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're cutting out all the, other than the Super Bowl, what else is there?
Right.
Is it not the pinnacle of achievement in your sport? Is it not the biggest game?
So that's the end-all, be-all. So then why doesn't Kareem have a say for the most?
Okay, but we're talking about the National Football League Super Bowls, where the quarterback is by far the most important position.
Right.
And I agree with you. Peyton or Tom, you can name a lot of them, but heck, Aaron, for that matter, could he have played any other position? No. But the flip of that question is, could anybody else who played any other position have done what they accomplished?
No.
Okay.
I'm not saying that, but I believe, like Skip, I believe that other players probably could have played the quarterback position. Now, obviously, they're not winning Super Bowls, I don't think, but I do believe, do you believe that Peyton could have been a serviceable tight end or a serviceable receiver?
Absolutely not.
Tom Brady could have been a serviceable.
No. And it is rare that even any quarterback could have crossed over and been great in another sport. Who am I forgetting?
Maybe baseball. Elway played baseball.
Elway did play baseball. I'll give you that. Well, and for that
Tyler.
matter, okay, and Tom Brady was a draft pick. He's a late-round draft pick as a catcher out of high school. Okay, just for the record.
Because most of the time, Skip, quarterbacks, that's all they've ever played. Okay. It's hard for me to see a position that Tom Brady played other than quarterback since he started playing football.
Yep.
Peyton is the same. You know, John said he was a running back until he got to the 9th grade, and he wanted to go out for running back, and his dad parked the car and said, no, you're going to be a quarterback.
Okay, but his dad was a football coach.
Was a football
That is
coach,
correct.
yeah.
Okay, all you need to know about what Brett Favre said yesterday on his radio show is what Aaron said when referring to Brett the other day in a media session in Green Bay. He called him Farvey. Farvey said something.
Yeah.
Farvey? These guys used to be at each other's throats because they were competing for the same job.
Right.
And it got ugly between them, and now they are besties.
Well, Skip,
they are.
Well, I don't think
it came full circle to I need you and you need me, sort of, it's good for business, right?
I don't know if Joe and Steve are besties.
Yeah.
But Joe and Steve had the same type of relationship. Joe was not helping.
I'm not sure where they are now.
I don't know either, but I know where they were.
Yeah. Okay, but one's not still playing, and the other one doesn't have a radio show on Sirius XM, right?
True.
Okay, all right.
But we just go to show, Skip. I mean, this is competitive. Now, you want what I have. You're trying to get my job. You do realize that. So why am I helping you? It's kind of like in the job world, Skip, like, okay, we're going to replace you, but we want you to train your replacement. I wish I might.
Okay. So here's a fact that talk about a bounce back year that Aaron Rodgers has had. No quarterback this year has had a bigger leap in QBR than Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
He finished last year at 54, which was 18th in the NFL.
Better than you-know-who, the guy we talking about.
Okay, but we're not talking about him. We're talking about him.
Oh.
We're talking about Aaron Rodgers was 54, which scale 0 to 100 is barely above average. This year, he's up to 85, which is just a tick below Mahomes at 86 for the top spot.
All right.
Okay, so they're competing for MVP. That's what you call a bounce back year. And again, Pro Football Focus, your favorite website, who is completely down on him just because they're just reacting to what their eye test tells them and their numbers tell them. So down on him, they didn't even put him in their top 50
Let that
players.
sink in for a second.
Well,
I got it through for 4,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, and 4 picks, who had better numbers than you-know-who, but that was in the top 50.
Okay.
Has he had a bounce back season?
How did his year end last year in Green Bay? They did get to the NFC Championship game, and in it he had a QBR of 23, and he turned it over twice throwing the football, and he lost 3 fumbles.
And guess what?
He fumbled 3 times.
I know a guy that had a worse QBR than that in his last home game, and he threw a pick 6, and he started the season.
Why do you have to keep changing the subject?
Because we're talking about him. We're talking about Brady, are we not?
Because pro football, no, we're talking about this guy right now. We're talking about the leap from last year. It got so bad that Pro Football Focus said that Rodgers has become more evidently part of the problem in Green Bay, and his own team spent the offseason laying plans to minimize his role in 2020 and replace him beyond that because they drafted Jordan Love late in the first round.
So what did Pro Football Focus say about the New England Patriots moving on from Tom Brady? Did they write that? Because they moved on without him.
Okay.
And they didn't have, think about this, let this sink in. They were so hell-bent. They was like, we're not taking a quarterback. We're going to ride with Stidham or we're going to ride with Hoyer. At least the Packers said, we're going to try to get somebody to replace. They were so worried for him to leave, they say, we don't care who we get.
Okay.
We just going to get you up out of here.
And they are 6-6 and almost certainly not going to make the playoffs.
They right where they need to be. They right there on the cusp. Now, they had a very bad loss to the Denver Broncos because they would have been smacked down. But don't count on Coach Belichick out. You make it seem like you New Orleans. Last I checked, you on the outside looking in too.
7-5.
Yeah, hold on. So 7-5.
Wait, how many cases we have bet on who has the better record? I'll double them. We got 5. I'll double it to 10.
I already bought out.
Okay.
I gave you 3.
Well, you did bought out.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though, Skip. You make it seem like 7-5, 11-1, like they got my homeboy record. They 7-5. The Patriots 6-6.
Okay. So
don't mess around and let Kirk Cousins get y'all on Sunday.
Off his game last Sunday at Lambeau against Philadelphia, Pro Football Focus wrote that his numbers were they just grade his numbers, and they said it was the best of his entire career, and it was the second best single game that they have graded since they started back in 2006. So they're saying, wow, look at what he did against the Eagles.
Not even close.
Yeah.
Not even close. Because, hold on. So what was that opening day game that my homeboy had in Pittsburgh his second year, where he threw 6 touchdowns? So how did they grade that game? Or the game that he had 2 years ago in Jacksonville? How did they grade that game? Man, they just be throwing out these willy-nilly numbers, and they expect everybody
willy-nilly,
yes,
Shannon Sharp. So, same game last year, it was earlier in the year, against Philly, at Green Bay, at Lambeau.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers was having such a rough time last year. Do you remember what happened at the end of that game? I think we might even still have
there
it.
you go, see?
Well, seriously, I want to show what happened last year. Look at Darius Shepard. He comes completely clean over here, and Philly jumps. They double Valdez-Scantling and leave Darius Shepard. He's just a rookie from, like, what is it? South Dakota or North Dakota.
Hold on, wait a minute.
North Dakota State.
If I'm not mistaken,
Yep.
I've heard, and I think everybody at home has heard, that Bruce Arians says week after week, we've got guys open. So your guy missing.
But that was for the game winner.
Oh, hold on.
And he threw an interception.
How do we know those weren't for the game winners? You wouldn't even been behind if he hit the open guys. That's what BA keeps saying. That's what BA.
So, to make the case that Aaron Rodgers is better, he's more of the GOAT than Tom Brady, is just, it's insulting to anybody who cares about football, because I give you, in a vacuum, look, here's Aaron Rodgers to me. He has simply the worst footwork I've ever seen in a quarterback. Worst by far. Wentz is pretty bad. Wentz throws from his feet are like 8 feet apart, and you just can't throw straight that way. But Aaron Rodgers' feet are all over the place, but he's got the golden arm that can make up for it, and I buy that. And he's cool, and he's flipping it, and he's even cooler than Mahomes. He's doing all the above. I give you all that. But if you look at what Tom Brady did in AFC Championship game fourth quarters against Jacksonville and at Kansas City in overtime, and then you lay on top of it 6 Super Bowls with game-winning drives, and it should have been a 7th against Eli in the first Eli, and it should have been an 8th ring when he threw for 505 record playoff yards against Philadelphia, and Belichick's defense gave up 41.
Well, look what Coach Belichick's doing right now.